and I can
Welcome to the Embodied Woman podcast, a home for the authentic creative. We are so excited because Claudia is here with us today. Claudia, how do I pronounce your last name?
Noriega.
Noriega-Bernstein.
There you go. Good job.
Okay, thank you. And so Amber, my co-host, is always here. Here she is in all
Hello.
of her beauty and glory. I I just want to read your bio so we can dive into there's so you have we could do a whole series. Okay.
Lifetimes,
Okay.
lifetimes of information and
So
wisdom.
Claudia is an artist, a writer, a philanthropist, a life coach, a mentor, mother, and wife. And might I say, a very, very dedicated mother, like impressively so. So during her career as a journalist, she has worked for magazines and television in South America and the US, touching subjects from parenting, forgiveness, and growth to political issues. She started her career on television at 17 years old as an actor, appearing in one of the most popular telenovelas, soap operas called Carmen, airing in over 37 countries, as well as mini-series and important advertising campaigns in South America like Levi's. Soon after, she moved to behind the camera and at 21 became one of the youngest producers in her country, where she wrote a manual that was later used to train other young producers. After moving to the US, she worked producing shows on the Strip, but when she became a single mother of three, she had to put her passion for writing on hold. In 2008, while she participated in an emotional intelligence training at Choice Center University, she discovered life coaching and it became one of her passions. Helping others achieve self-confidence, good relationships, their life purpose, and becoming authentic leaders brings so much joy to my life, Claudia says, especially when I help them stand in their own power and have clarity about who they are and where they want to be so they can ultimately become the best version of themselves. So she's dedicated the last 15 years of her life to empowering people, especially children and women. As a life abundance coach, she has helped people from different backgrounds to discover and implement the full potential of their own creative powers for personal growth and self-healing. Born in Peru, she comes from a culture of taboos and beliefs that had not always empowered her to become what she believed was her calling. In the process of self-discovering, she fell in love with herself again and found her passion for helping others. Giving back, paying forward, gratitude, and kindness are her pillars for a better world, and she credits them for inspiring her belief system and transforming her life. In her book, Brighter Days, available in Spanish, Días Felices.
Yeah, it's in
Okay.
Spanish and English. Yeah.
That's the Spanish name. She shares the tools she has learned to break beliefs that have stopped her in the past to create the life she wanted. Claudia has traveled the world since she was a little girl and is continually inspired by the diversity and beauty of human expression and experience. She also has published journals for men, women, and kids, as well as series of books to educate adults. The series is called Valentina and Her White Elephant, available on Amazon and brighterdaysbook.com. Oh, oh my God, Claudia,
I
you're
have to
so
correct
amazing.
you. Hey, thank you so much. I didn't think you were gonna read the whole
I
thing.
had to read the whole thing because
What could you take out? Nothing.
you can't
Well,
take
my,
any of
my
it out.
website now has my name. I used to have Brighter Days, and my website now is claudianoriega-bernstein.com. So that's an update that I just noticed I should I should keep in mind.
Well, yesterday and I were in a Zoom together, and Amber and we were all in a Zoom together yesterday, and you were sharing the most incredible stories, just mind-blowing stories about your your beliefs in miracles, the ability to heal oneself, the determination that one has to overcome anything in spite of what doctors say. I'd love to just dive into the miraculous stories that you were sharing yesterday, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah, whatever you guys want to talk. First of all, I want to thank you both for having me in your show. Um, I love women shows because I think that when we see another woman that has gone through something, we kind of see that woman as a billboard and as a possibility for us to achieve the same things. It's kind of like, okay, if she was able to do it, then I can do it too. You know, sometimes I have a client that has one kid and just getting divorced, and I go, well, I have 3 under 5 in a foreign country and I had cancer. What's your excuse? And I'm not trying to be mean, but you know, we put ourselves in this victim place because that's the comfortable place to go. But we take a step back, you know, one of the things that Kathy said yesterday, if you're in the jar, you cannot see the label of the jar. So if you
Yes.
remove yourself from the problem and you start seeing all the possibilities that you have, then suddenly you're not in the victim place. Suddenly you're in power because you're like, oh, wow. You know, when I was in this victim place with all my walls up, those walls also are blinding me for everything that is behind those walls. And now that I am not in that victim place, I can see those possibilities. And I think that has been my strategy since I was a kid. And nobody really taught me that. I think it was a survival kind of thing that I had in me to refuse to be in a place where I was not happy. So I had imaginary friends. I love to write stories. I love to do whatever would bring me out of that reality to a place of light, into a place of possibility. And the same thing happened to me when every single time that I've been sick. You know, I had my first cancer. It's so funny because somebody said to me, "What do you say my first cancer?" Is it because it's mine? It was mine, and it was part of who I am now, because if I would not have gone through that cancer, I would not be the person that I am now. And if I would not have gone through the second one, I would definitely not be the person that I am now. And if I would not have gone to the third one, probably, yeah, I would not be, or I would not even know how much strength I have in me. Because you have to go through that. I have a client that says to me today, I made some horrible mistakes. And I said to her, you would not be that person that you are right now if you would not have made those mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, and oftentimes when we are in the problem, when we are in the middle, we don't see that. We just feel sorry for ourselves and we're like, oh, I can't believe all this happening to me. But I said to her, if I would bring you back to when you were 14 years old, and I tell you, okay, you're going to live a life with no error, no mistake, it's going to be perfect. Would you like that? What a dull life you would have, you know? No
Yes. And
challenge.
you wouldn't
And then
learn anything.
you would not even know who you are.
Yeah.
And about self, every time we have a struggle, every time that we go through something, we discover another superpower. You know, so the
Yes.
first time that I had cancer, it was a really tough time in my life because, as you and I were talking last time and it didn't record.
Yeah, I was
Kill
just
ourselves.
sharing with Amber about that. Okay, so for the listeners, Claudia had me on her podcast, Don't Shrink to Fit. We had an incredible interview. And then at the end of it, I said, can I record what we're talking about now? Because she was sharing some things with me and it didn't record. And so we were like, okay, wasn't meant to be.
Yes. So I had cancer, and then right after that, I had a divorce. And it was a divorce by choice. You know, it was something that I made a decision I wanted to go through because the circumstances were not aligned with what I aspired to be. I wasn't even that person then, but I had a clear understanding that I didn't want to be that person that I was in that moment if I would have stayed in the relationship. So
And to complete more of that, what you're saying is you weren't willing to abandon yourself.
right. I wasn't willing to shrink, to become, listen, I had a husband to adore me, but I had a husband who made some choices that were not aligned with me.
Yeah.
And we talk about this, even though people said to me, a lot of people said to me, are you kidding me? Look where you are. Look at the life you have. You look how many cars you have parked outside your house. Look at the size of your house. You really gonna leave all this just to prove yourself that you're right, and then in your ego and then your pride? And I'm like, this is the part that you guys don't understand. this has nothing to do with ego, and it has nothing to do with pride. It has a lot to do with the love I have for myself.
Yeah.
I have to love myself more than all this that is surrounding me to be able to make that decision. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to have to look at those 6 eyes, and I'm going to have to say to them, I stay in my integrity. I was true to myself, and it wasn't easy. And life is not always going to be easy, but you need to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and be okay with what is
Yeah.
staring back at you.
Yeah.
And if you shrink, you can't, because it's like when you try to fit in, you become somebody that you're not to be able to be accepted, you know?
Yeah.
And my love for me had to be unconditional. My self-worth had to be unconditional for me to be able to make that decision. And I wasn't in a place where I am right now. I wasn't. I had a long road to go and to learn about life and about myself, about self-esteem and self-worth and all that. I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't know about it. You know what I'm saying? I heard about it, but I didn't know about it. But one thing I was clear, and I remember, and I'm gonna talk about the cancer, but I remember the moment that I had like a confirmation that what the decision I had made was the right decision. And it was one night, and I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about this with you, but let's just do it. So I was in a little tiny apartment. This is part of what we talked that day. I was in a little tiny apartment after living in a huge house with a pool and this and that and all the gadgets. And my girls were all in one room, from each of them having their own room. They were the three of them in one room. They were the three of them under 5. I had an 11 months old, a 2-year-old, and a 5.5-year-old. And and I had no idea what I was gonna do with my life. And I didn't have insurance. I didn't have a job. I had a lot of purses and I had a lot of nice clothes. So I would go and sell my clothes in bags in those places that they buy clothes, and I would practically give it away. And in the same shopping center, there was an Albertson, which is like a grocery store.
Yeah.
So, because in different states, they have different names. So I would go for whatever money I got and go buy groceries. And that was my source of income. And I didn't call anyone. I didn't knock any door because that's where my pride was.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can do this and I can do it on my own.
Yeah.
So, but the beauty of this, and I say the beauty of this because I think it's so important to always acknowledge that our kids are watching us, was the fact that I didn't do it bitching about it. I made it a fun experience. So my kids remember going to this store with bags and then going to the grocery store. And until they were older, they put 2 and 2 together and they realized, oh my God, my mom was selling her clothes to feed us. Or I would go to the park and I will say, we're going to have a picnic today because I had $3. Then I couldn't do anything with $3. So I would go to the park and I will buy 3 Happy Meals for my girls. And my girls would be so excited because we're doing a picnic. And they all had their little toy and they will say, Mommy, where's your Happy Meal? And I would say, I already ate. And I didn't.
Oh, Claudia.
And I will get the fries or the chicken nugget or whatever. At that time, I was eating meat. So, it was easier to fit me. So I would do that stuff. But they never really felt, oh my God, we have such a horrible childhood because we didn't have money to eat and my mom didn't eat it. It
Yeah.
was not, that wasn't the conversation. The conversation was, this is an amazing time that we're going to have in the park. And
Yeah.
that's the memory I choose to have because that's the choice we make. Like
Yeah.
we make the choice of what kind of a day I'm going to have. I
Yes.
choose that was going to be it. So one day I was in that little apartment. I had a banquet because my the father of my kid, my ex-husband, he passed away. And I said this to you before, Siri. He had the most beautiful heart. He was not a bad person. He was just, he had a lot of demons, and he had a lot of growing to do. So he went from being a husband to being one of my kids to me, pretty much. And we were blessed enough to both to understand that our relationship couldn't have ego, because our priority was and is and always will be our daughters. So we managed to become really good friends, like laughing buddies, like come to my house, have a coffee, you live 2 blocks from my house.
Yeah, and so do you want to share why that's so amazing that you became good friends?
Yes, I will share. But let me tell you, so that day
Okay.
that I was in that little apartment, he at the beginning was not nice, because nobody's nice at the beginning of a divorce. That's an illusion, okay? There is a lot of issues, and until you come to a place of understanding that this is not personal, I'll just, I'm not rejecting you, just not the right candidate for me. That's pretty much it. Um, I watch my girls, because he only let me take a banquet. He really was very like, you cannot take this and you cannot take that, and we're gonna sell everything, and then we're gonna split the money, because deep inside he wanted me to come back.
Ah,
Thought that if he pressured me enough or he take enough from me, I was gonna feel defeated and come back. He had
yep.
no idea who I was if he was thinking that, but okay, let's give him that. So I'm standing there, I'm watching my girls. I had the banquet and I have a mattress,
Yeah.
my third daughter. And then you think, I thought in that moment, I was an actress. I was very famous. I made a lot of money when I was an actress. I moved to the States. I married this guy. We had a beautiful family. Like my whole life was in front of me.
Mm.
And this is what happened. And this is where I am now. So I have two choices. I can feel sorry for myself and raise these kids from a place of anger and frustration, or I can really be grateful for the opportunity that I have to raise my girls without any distractions. And I knew that with him, I was going to have distraction after I learned what I learned of him. So I shift in that moment. And I realized this is actually a blessing. And I'm going to make this work. And we're going to have a happy life. And I'm going to do whatever I have to do to raise these girls with love, empower them, and I'm going to make it fun.
Mm.
I'm going to make it fun. And I had like a moment when I'm like, you got this, kid. You got it. So I knew in my soul that I had made the right decision, and I trusted the process that this was going to work, because I was willing to make it work. So it was
Beautiful.
a really aha moment for me. It wasn't hard. It wasn't I'm sorry, it wasn't easy. It was hard and difficult, because I am in a foreign country. I was his manager, so suddenly I don't have a job, and because I don't have a job, I don't have insurance, but I just had cancer, and I still have to go through treatments. My first year was like $20,000 just in medical bills. You put that on top of having to raise 3 kids.
Mm.
It was hard. So I said to myself, we'll make it work. We'll make it fun. So somebody sent me a suit as congratulations, you got divorced, go get a job. And I went to get a job, and the Paris hotel was opening here. So I applied. I never had done anything for a hotel. I didn't know anything about the system they use or anything like that. I wasn't very savvy in the computer either, but I learned. And I used to pay somebody to come and be in the morning with my little one and the other two will be taken to school. So I will work I will leave my house like around 5:30 in the morning and work from 6:30 to 2:30. Then I will pick up my girls from school. Then I would do Mary Kay in the afternoon with my
Oh.
kids. And then I will come back home, and it was always fun because I always made it fun. You know, you get to come to work with mom every single day. How amazing is that? You are so lucky, you know? And then we'll get home, and I start teaching my kids since they were little that we were a team. We are part of a team. I don't work for you. You don't work for me. We're all together in this. So my daughter at 3 years old knew how to do laundry because we would learn. So I would look for every opportunity to teach them something. So, okay, Sophia's my youngest one, separate everything with colors. So in the living room while I was making dinner, she was making these piles of colors, you know? And then Isabella, who was a year older than her, would put the stuff in the washer, you know? And then she will bend over. So Talia, which is the older one, will climb on her and push the button, you know? And so they all knew and learned that we are part of a tribe and we all help. And that's okay,
That's
you know?
great. I love it.
So I made it into a game. When they got a little bigger, because at night I would work so I had 3 jobs. At night, I would work for real estate people and I would fix their websites and add pictures and whatever. And then like around midnight, I would go to bed and then get up the next day at 5 in the morning again. And I was like killing myself for a period of time until I got smart and I said, wait a minute, I got all these Mary Kay products for a lot less money because I'm a Mary Kay lady. And I got my stars and I got my awards and whatever. And I work in a hotel. And what the hotels do, they have VIP people. And what the VIP people like, they like baskets and they like gifts. So I'm going to hook up with the how you say, the hostess, and offer my services and created a business. So then I didn't have to have 3 jobs. I only had 2. You know what I'm saying? So I start growing by being creative.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm gonna talk a little more about this in a book that I'm in a collaboration book about Latin people that I am working on, because I think it's important for everybody to see the possibilities they have. And as I saying before, sometimes when you see somebody doing it, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't think of that. I do that too. Or, you know, maybe this is something that can work for me. So it has been a journey. It has been a journey. And, you know, he trusted me. And I think that was a huge ingredient in me feeling that I was capable to raise these girls and still have a life. And I never told my girls, if I wouldn't have you, I would be the president. Or if I would not have you, I would probably have a different. No, because that was my choice. And that's the part that a lot of moms that are going through divorce get a little mixed up, you know, because you getting a divorce is a choice you're making. Your kid has nothing to do with that decision. So why putting that weight on, if I would have or if I wouldn't have, then I wouldn't do or I would do, when the kids are just, you know, going with the flow pretty much. It's not that they had a choice. It's not that I sat with them and say, okay, let's analyze this. I just got your dad with another girl, so what do you think I should do? I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I didn't even tell them. I didn't even tell them why I got divorced.
Yeah.
You know, I just said to them, Mom, what happened? I said, you know what, baby? Your dad has different dreams. I have different dreams. When you love somebody, you want that person to be happy. So we have made a decision that we're going to have 2 houses. But why his house is bigger? Oh, he needs more space. And those were choices I made. I could have turned around and say, well, because he's not giving me any child support because he wants me to come back crawling. I could say that. That wasn't a lie. But why?
Yeah.
Why would I say that?
Yeah.
What would I get out of it? And especially, what would they get out of it? Resent their father? My kids had an amazing relationship with their dad. Why? Because they love him for what he was able to give to them. I had nothing to do with them. If something, I taught them to love and respect their dad from my side. He's your dad. You're not disrespectful. He loves you. You love him back. End of the story. But their relationship was something they built on their own. I had no say so on that, and I didn't want to have any say so on that. So those were choices I made right at the beginning, and I don't know why I made them. I just thought that those were what I was supposed to do. It
Yeah.
was instinctively that I made
Yes.
those choices.
Yeah. So normally what we would want to do is ask you what is the catalyst, that grew you into who you are now. And the thing is that you have, I want to say, like probably 50 catalysts in your life that have continued to grow you to who you are now, to the
Yeah.
phenomenal woman that you are now,
You're so sweet.
right?
Thank you.
And the story you just told is just I'm just in tears, like that level of dedication to your children that I know you've continued to have is just so incredible. It's so incredible. And I love that you wrote a book, a children's book as well, that came out of that struggle.
I wrote 3 children's books that is a series of children. You're making me cry. Don't
Okay.
make me cry. I don't look nice.
Mm.
I wrote 3 children's books, which are part of a series called Valentina and Her White Elephant. And the white elephant is the white elephant in the room. So it's about subjects that sometimes are challenging to talk to kids. Because my vision is to have a world with adults with no trauma. I know it's going to take a minute, but we can start with the kids. One is about divorce, the other one is about grief, and the other one is about secrets. And in the one about secrets, I talk about bullying. And I wrote those books because I thought it was important that parents have tools to communicate with the kids and have an opportunity to talk about certain subjects with the kids. So at the end of the books, I have prompts. So after you read the story about Valentina, who is a little girl who has an imaginary friend called Lucy, and it's a stuffed animal that becomes a big elephant, and she talks about these difficult subjects with her. And once you finish reading the book, at the end, you have the prompts where you can use the prompts to ask children, what do you think about it? What is the message of the book? Do you have any more questions? Because every kid has a gift, but they don't unwrap it at the same time. So it's important to protect that innocence and not give them more information than what a kid is asking for. Some kid would ask you a million questions. My oldest daughter would ask me, and why, and why, and why, and why, and why, until there was not another why. My youngest one will ask one question, and then she will ponder for days, and then out of the blue, she'll come, and then what happened? And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but let's go into that. And my middle one just wouldn't ask questions, but she will say something to me that would prompt me to ask a question. What do you think that way? Where did you hear that? Let's talk about it. So every kid act differently. They ask different questions. And I wanted to give this to the teachers and to the parents and to the adults, sometimes grandparents, sometimes kids are in foster home. So one of them, the one that is about family, the divorce, is called All Families Are Not the Same. So kids know that you can have 2 moms, you have 2 dads, you can have a grandma, you can have your older sister raising you. Not every family is the same, but, and I share this with you, but it's important that kids know that no matter what, we're a family. And when Trent passed away and my daughters talk, they said, my oldest daughter said, my parents got divorced when I was 5, I would never stop being a family. And that's a true core belief they have. I had my mom and my dad. I never had to choose. I never went to one house and one parent talked bad about the other parent. but that's an agreement that him and I had, because we were not a priority. A priority was raising these girls from a place of love. That was the most important thing. There was no ego, there was no pride, there was no my story, your story. You know, when he passed away, the girls went through a lot of stuff that he had in his condo, and they found pictures of girls when they were very little. And I mean, the kids are smart. They put two and two together. You know, they didn't come and say, "Mom, did he cheated on you?" But they know. They know. You know. Do I have to have that conversation? No, I don't. Why? Because he's not here to say his side of the story. He's not here to share with them why he did what he did or how he felt. So I don't feel I have the right to say something about him that he cannot also express about, something about the situation. So even though he's not around anymore, and I do miss him, I miss my friend, I am not going to go there with the girls. And they respect me enough and know me enough to know that that's not a place where we're going to go. They know it because I hear them sometimes, oh, you know what that did, but I don't dig in. I don't go and say, what are you talking about? Well, let me tell you my side of the story, because it doesn't matter my side of the story. At this point, it doesn't matter. This is where we are now. Your dad is not here anymore. So why would I tarnish that memory just to make myself look better? I made that decision on my own. I choose to walk away from that marriage. I could have stayed. Nobody could have said anything to me, but that was a decision I made with my mirror. Okay, is this who you want to be? No? Okay, what are we doing? Okay. And that's that. So when I talk with my kids about their dad, I talk about the positive of it. Oh my God, you guys. Oh, so sorry. Those are my dogs. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, your dad was so funny, or your dad was so talented, or oh yeah, I remember that video and we went to this place. You remember? Because not only we managed to become good friends, but we were roommates at one point, after like 2 or 3 years after I got divorced, because I was in between apartments. And he said to me, she goes, Cla, he used to call me Cla, why don't you just stay here? I wanted to say, yeah, in the house that is supposed to be mine. Yeah, sure, I'll stay there. Instead of that, I said, yeah, sure, that's sweet. I'll stay. And I stayed for like, I think 3 months in the guest room. I get to see my girls all day long. He had a much better financial situation than me. So I was able to, hang with the girls the whole day. He had a nanny, so it was great. And then it was a little awkward. One time somebody, a friend actually came, because I never brought guys to the house or to my house when my kids were little anyway, but somebody came and picked me up to have a dinner or something. And he opened the door and he's like, how can I help you? He says, oh, I'm picking up Claudia. And he says, oh, hi, I'm her ex-husband. And the guy was like, okay, what am I walking into here? Or another time he calls me when we were not living together anymore, and he says, hey, Claudia, do you still want to jump out of a plane? And I go, yeah. And he goes, I'll go pick you up. And at that time, my daughter was 11 years old, so I went to her and I'm like, Talia, I'm going to go jump out of a plane with your dad, watch your sisters. I'll be back in 2 hours. And she's like, oh, Mom, have fun. But that was memories that my girls are always going to treasure. My mom and my dad used to do things together. Of course, he put the camera on me. Okay, he needed that extra person to record himself, but we had a great time, and it was beautiful that he remembered I wanted to do that. And we, even when we went to that place, they say, what is the relationship between the two of you? I says, oh, she's my ex-wife. And the trainer is looking at me like, are you okay with this? It's fine. But that's a decision that you make. You can make you can be you can have all the anger you want to have towards that other person, and in many cases it's justified in both sides, because the life as you see it is not there anymore. So somebody's taking something from you, and you got to be angry at something because it's a grieving period, right? You're grieving that marriage, you're grieving that family, you're grieving that life that you thought you were going to have. So you go through the same grieving process as when somebody passed away, and you're going to have that anger. Now, the trick is, where are you directing that anger? Digest it, feel it, acknowledge it, see what buttons are being pushed for you to feel that way. But where are you directing that anger? And if you're directing that anger to the kids, you need to go back in the shower, cry yourself out. You're already wet. I used to do that all the time. Put yourself together and start paying attention to your priorities. Because this is not just about you. Their life has been changed too. So have a little empathy for you and for those little people, that are looking at you, and they are seeing you as a reference point. If mom is okay, I'm okay.
It's tough. Yeah.
It is,
Mhm.
but
I,
it's
I,
possible.
I thank you for sharing all that. It's quite a story, and it's, as a woman who has been divorced for a while with small children, I really appreciate, you know, what you walked through and where you were able to arrive. And I think it's very inspiring. And I would also love to hear, for those that are listening that are like, well, that's great, I'm happy that she became best friends, but
Mhm.
how did you work through the process of forgiving? Because, yes, I did the same thing, and I continue to do the same thing with my children. I put them first, and when I'm having a hard time about my feelings about their father, I'm very mindful and very conscious of, where I put that, and the effects that could potentially have on them. But I also know that I have my own inner work to heal, right? And so for you, discovering that someone that you love, that you trusted, betrayed you,
Mhm.
there must have been, you didn't just all of a sudden become best friends. So what was
Yeah.
your process for those that are listening that might be struggling with forgiveness, right? Who might be struggling with getting to a place where they're able to set aside their pain. What was your process that allowed you to forgive and take ownership of your part and so on?
What the first thing that I did, and it was very hard, was with myself. I had to hold myself accountable first. What is my responsibility in this? And that's the hardest part, because when when somebody cheats on you or lie to you or betray you, your finger is going to point to that person.
Mhm.
Nobody cheats on you or betrayed you or let you down out of the blue. There is a series of behaviors before that that leads to that. So I hold myself accountable for the times that I didn't see the signs. I hold myself accountable for the times I lied to myself when the evidence was in front of me. So the process started with accountability with me, and then forgiveness to me.
Yeah.
That's where I started it. Once I was able to do that, I apologized to him. And a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but a couple, two or three of my friends said to me, "Are you crazy? Why did you apologize to him?" And I said, because by me not noticing those signs, I allowed the behavior to continue.
Right.
And perhaps I could have done something to avoid that final thing that he did. So when I was ready, and I can tell you exactly when it was, I went to drop the girls at his house. And it was hard for me when I would drop them, because I would feel like if I didn't have any purpose when I would come back to my little apartment by myself. Um, it was funny because one day my daughter tried to set me up with my neighbor because she was, I don't want you to come home by yourself. So he's already living underneath, and she didn't even understand, but whatever. So I dropped my girls in the big house, and I drove to the corner, but the house was really big, so it was kind of like a corner, right? So from the door he could see. And I stopped because I started crying in the car. Because you have those moments.
Oh yeah.
You have those moments, and you're like, F, you know? I don't know if I can say the word, but you say it like,
You can say it.
like, fuck, are you kidding me?
Mhm.
And then you go through the whole thing again, because you go like, why he get to keep the big house, and why this and why that, and he was, because you're human, you are gonna go through those moments. So I parked the car in the corner, and I started to cry. And then he knocked on my window. He saw me, because somehow it's funny, because when he passed away, my daughter found my picture in his briefcase after 25 years. So, and two marriage in between for him. He never really forgave himself, for that. So he knocked on my window, and I look at him, and I went like, oh my God. And he said, put the window down. So I opened the door. I didn't put the window down, because honestly, I wanted a hug.
Mhm.
And he was my friend that made a mistake. So he pulled me out of the car, and he hugged me, and he said, I'm so sorry. And I said, I am sorry too. And I forgive you. I know I have responsibility, and I'm sorry. I didn't see it, I didn't see the signs. I was so caught up in I come from a broken family, so you always want that Flintstone fantasy family, and so,
Yep.
and I remember I remember what he was wearing. I remember vividly that moment. And I remember he went like this for me to hold his hand, and got me out, and he just gave me a hug, and we stood there in the corner of his house, um kind of against traffic, because so I was coming like this traffic was going the other direction, and I kind of crossing park right in the corner, so I could stop there, because I couldn't keep on driving. And we hugged for a minute, and then I sat in my car, and we had one of the most honest and beautiful conversations you can have with somebody that has shared his life with you, and he said to me, that was just sex. And I said to him, I understand. I don't agree. I understand. Like, if I put myself in your shoes, I understand. But I don't agree. And I want better for me. And he said, and you deserve better. And that was the beginning of our healing as a couple. Acknowledging, respecting, and forgiving. And it didn't happen overnight. I think we were divorced already like 2 years. I would say 2 years. And he said to me, I'm always here. You don't have to be strong all the time. He knew me better than I knew myself at that moment. I know myself now, and I love myself now, with the good, bad, and the ugly. But it took, my youngest daughter is going to be 27. So, you know, she was 11 months. So it's been a minute.
Yeah.
In this journey for me to get to know myself. But that, I think, if you ask me in a nutshell, it was then, you know, when I acknowledge my, hey guys, sorry, they had to be here because it's raining. So I have to come to terms with my responsibility. I have to come to terms with the fact that, hey, shh, so sorry. With the fact that I wasn't the better person, that I also had made mistakes, and that we can only create that life we want. I'm sorry, I'm gonna put it outside. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Drinking my cacao.
Out because you guys are being too noisy.
I put a little coffee in it
Oh,
today.
really?
Because I was just like, I need to wake up. Have you ever done that? No.
No,
I don't
because
know if it ruins it.
I haven't had coffee in years.
Oh,
So,
You know, I don't normally drink coffee, but
yeah.
I have to sit up because my leg bothers me if I hang it too low because I broke it.
I know you broke your
Well,
Yeah, with
foot.
my foot. Yeah.
I think your answer is profound and very, very helpful, because the only way, and that's what I have found and continue to find, that the only way that I can move through, you know, I mean, it's easy to, like you said, it would be easy to say, oh yeah, he did this, and have
Mhm.
everybody say, oh yeah, you're right, that was so
We're all
terrible.
gonna hate him.
You're
We
you
don't
know,
like him. I have
Right.
a friend who said to me, we don't like him, right? And I go, no, we do like him.
right.
You know, we don't like him always. And it's funny because I used to tell my girls, and I still say that this to my girls, I'm always gonna love you, but I don't like you always.
Mm.
And that's okay.
Mm.
That's okay.
Right.
You know, I didn't like him at that moment. I didn't think that he was being his best self, but I believed in my core that he didn't do anything intentionally to hurt me. I knew it.
Mm.
I knew that he loved me. I knew that he had a lot of insecurities. I knew that he made the wrong choices. Not gonna justify them, but I was aware of that. So that helped me understand his behavior. And as I said before, I didn't agree with his behavior, but I could understand. A person in that place can make those mistakes, but Amber, I never thought, I never had a doubt in my mind about this. He didn't go and do what he did with the intention of hurting me. That was not his intention. And oftentimes we judge people by the behavior and not the intention. And sometimes people do things and they're stupid things. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, he cheated or whatever. We do things every day. And people do things every day, and their intention is not malicious. The result might look like it. So how about we take a step back and see the intention of the person? Was the person really trying to hurt you? And I say that to my girls. Sometimes they get into a fight and I go, okay, but honestly, do you think your sister did this with the intention to hurt you? No, ma'am, but it was very hurtful. I get that. And I acknowledge your pain. And it was terrible. But tell me with your hand in your heart, did you think that she thought about it in a manipulative way and say, I'm going to do A, B, or C because I just want to hurt that bitch? No, it came that way. But let's take a step back and see the intention. Now, if the intention was to hurt you, then the outcome is going to be different, and your reaction is going to be different, and the way you handle things is going to be different. But give yourself some grace here, and really analyze the situation. You know, maybe you would have done the same thing in that situation. I don't know, but what was the intention? And that also helped me in the forgiving part, because I knew that he didn't do that to hurt me. He was looking for something, whatever it was.
Right.
Not my problem, honestly, what he was looking for. The end result was I got hurt. He did something stupid, and I made a decision. But I took my power back because I made that decision. Otherwise, he would have been making the decisions, and I probably would have been a different kind of person right now.
Yeah. Ultimately, every choice that you made came from a place of loving yourself and also taking radical ownership of your part. And
Mhm.
I think that's the main takeaway for me. And some divorced couples will be able to be best friends and some won't. But that's not really the point. The point is you every choice you make, every choice you
Mhm.
made was with the intention of I love myself and this is the action I'm going to take from that place of self-love.
Right.
And also radical ownership of my role because it takes two to dance. And clearly, right, we all have a role. And
Right.
then to be able to forgive. And if you're able to have, a relationship that feels like you are not abandoning yourself in any
Mhm.
way and you are loving yourself, that's a beautiful thing. But ultimately, whatever the outcome is, the choice must be made from I will not abandon myself. I will not shrink. I will not
Mhm.
modify or adapt, right? I will honor myself and I will continue to look in the mirror every day and say, I will love myself. I will make these choices and I will take radical ownership of how I'm showing up. And
Right.
and that's what we can do. That's what we have control over.
And there's different couples in different circumstances by all means. I mean, I
Right.
have a client who's going through a divorce, I was saying earlier, and this guy really, you know, planned it for a while. There was, an intention of hurting her.
Mhm.
I didn't feel that.
Right.
And although I didn't trust him to be married to him, I have no doubt in my mind that if I needed him, he was going to be there
Mhm.
somehow, because it wasn't that he didn't love us.
Right.
That was not the reason why he did what he did. That was not the motivation to go and prove himself that he still got it. Okay. That wasn't. So I knew that if I pick up the phone, he will be there. And he was there many times, the same way that I was there. When he had a stroke, he called me first, and the phone call dropped. And when we were in the hospital and he was about to make the decision what to do, and we were talking with the neurosurgeon, my girls wanted me in that room. It was their choice. We are a family. We're going to be together and we're going to make that decision together. Mom, what do you think? Mom, what do you think we should do? You know? And that's the ripple effect that I want to create. I inherit a son from him, from his second marriage. And the kid called me every single day. And I have a relationship with him. And he said it to me, Cla, if anything ever happens to me, I want to make sure that Gabriel is going to be part of your life. And I said, I promise you. And he is part of my life. And I love that kid. And, if he has a problem, he calls me and he had a very different childhood than my girls. Very different childhood than my girls. And my kids sometimes feel guilty that he didn't have my mom. That's what they said. I feel bad that he didn't have my mom. They didn't have you, that he didn't have, you know. I mean, my career has been a mom. I am a writer. I was an actress. I write books and I do podcasts and I do coaching, whatever you want. Okay, those are very expensive hobbies. But I'm a mom and I love being a mom and I love to see my girls bloom and become this amazing human. The best compliment that my oldest daughter said to me, I'm sorry that my dogs are going nuts this
They're
today.
not bothering me.
Oh, okay. Um, my biggest accomplishment is being a mom. And when my oldest one said to me, when I become a mom, I want to be just like you. I mean, I can say that because there are things that are not aligned with me, and for her to say that is, wow, I might have done something right that inspired this kid to say that,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? So when I have those moments and when I have those conversations, and she was just here for a day to pick up her cat, and she was picking a fight with me the whole day. And I go, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "You
Mm,
know how hard it is for me to live without you?"
mm.
And I said, "But you're flying high. You're doing what you love. And I'm so proud of you. And I miss you every day. I go to your room and I'm like, I want to smell your t-shirts, because I miss you so much." And I feel blessed that my 31-year-old was able to, because she moved in with her boyfriend, then they broke up, and then she came back home. And a kid left my house, but a woman came back and we became friends. And that is a gift that I treasure, because although I grieve and I mourn my kids little, because they'll show you a picture of my girls. I have pictures of my girls everywhere. But these are my girls now when they were little, happy kids. Um, although I miss that little kid, I love the opportunity to have such an amazing friend, such a gorgeous human that wants to connect with me in that different level, and knows me from the inside out, that can take my suggestions and hate them, and it's okay. I'm not going to take it personal. It's okay. You know, as much as I miss my daughter, I miss my friend. I can't wait till she come back so we can go for coffee. And I talk to her every single day. And it's so amazing when that happened. And I feel so blessed that I had that my kid came back home and we rediscover ourselves, because she was living with her boyfriend for 3 years. So even though she moved 5 minutes away and I will still see her every day, it was different. She left from home to go to college. So she left a kid. She came back a woman. It was like, oh my God, And it was amazing to me to watch her, how she likes to make her coffee. I'm like, wow, you make your coffee like that? Oh, wow. Because I didn't know, because I didn't live with her for the last 3-4 years, but now I'm like rediscovering her. Is fascinating to me. Love it.
Claudia, I've never cried this much during an interview before.
Sorry.
You're just making my heart swell, and it's because the depth of your love and devotion is just so deep. It's
Thank
very
you.
moving.
I think, it's the purest love you can have is the love of your kids. I mean, when a kid is little, he looks at you like if you're Superwoman. You can do everything. Now, let me tell you, I'm 57 now. My kids talk to me like if I'm fragile, like if, oh my God, did you eat, Mom? Did you eat? Okay, Mom, don't get stressed, Mom. So suddenly I became handicapped. I went the whole spectrum from one side to the other one. First they were taking care of me. I was taking care of them. Now they take care of me. And sometimes we have conversations because we have a group chat, right? The real OG is a title of our thing. Amber, these are my girls now.
Oh, amazing.
Gorgeous.
And thank you. And sometimes one will tell the other one, don't say that, Mom is very fragile. Please don't, we'll talk in another chat about this. It's like, listen, I mean, and I think about it, what we were talking at the beginning of the conversation, I got divorced with 3 kids under 5 and stitches in my neck. I mean, are you kidding me?
Nothing fragile about that.
Right. But I love it that they see me that way.
That they're so protective.
Yeah.
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 So, Claudia, this is the Embodied Woman podcast. So, we've got to talk a little bit about what it means to you to be an embodied woman, what tools you use, what tools you give your clients to be embodied.
I am embodied when I'm authentic. And I think we talk about this, when I am true to myself, when I'm aligned with my integrity, with my values, with my pillars, then I can take the world because I know the tools I'm bringing with me. Somebody said to me, you become unstoppable when you work on things that nobody can take from you.
Mhm.
And that's what I do. Everything else around me does not define me, and that does not define what I am capable to do. I'm very grateful for the blessings that I have in my life. And I have had them in many moments in my life, and they have been taken from me many times. But because my worth has been intact, the self-esteem might have gone up and down, but it has not redefined who I am. I am who I am with money, without money, with a job, without a job, with a country club membership or a car that doesn't start. I am who I am, and I love that human that look back at me in the mirror because I know what she had to go through to be where I am. And I love my 6-year-old inside me, and I love my teenage that went through so much unwillingly. And I love my 20-year-old that was trying to find herself in my 30s when I got divorced. I love every woman that is, and every girl and every woman that lives inside me, and I praise them and I'm proud of them and I acknowledge them, and I know that I would not be who I am without them. They're part of me. So that's how I embody the woman that I am, by acknowledging and loving all the women that I have been.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's a good one.
Sorry, I made you cry.
No, I was just every age that you mentioned, I was feeling
Yes, me too.
deep love and compassion for.
Look at my tissues.
I don't have any. I didn't plan to cry.
I haven't cried lately in an interview. I left my tissues in the other room. You bored me, Siri.
I didn't know.
No, that was a beautiful, beautiful answer. I love that so much. I love that so much. And I feel that way most of the time, that I am who I am with this, without this, and I have come a very long way in getting to know and reconnect with and nurture and reparent all of me, all parts of me, every phase, every age, every version. And I continue to do that. And every time I come up against a new challenge or a new chapter or a new phase of growth, I think the way that I'm able to move through it is to soften and have compassion for who I am in this moment and what this experience is moving me through to the next phase of my life. And so thank you for sharing that. That's really beautiful.
Thank you, guys. I mean, this is what I love to coach women. That's my high. That's what when I have somebody in front of me that feels broken, that feels they have lost their spark. They don't have a purpose. They forgot their passion.
Yeah.
They just go through the flow of life because they have to get up and do a lunch back, or because they have to get up and go to work, or because they have to, and you have that have to before. I shift that into you get to.
Yeah.
You get to do all those things. You don't have to do anything. Let's find you in all these roles that you play. Let's find you. Let's find that woman that you know and I know you are, but you have forgotten because I know it's there, because I know mine was there and I have forgotten, because I shrunk to fit for a long time, trying to fit in, because that is a trauma response. You know, when you had moments in your life when you didn't feel loved, when you didn't feel enough, when you feel rejected, that's what you do. You
Yep.
try to feel that you belong, so you shrink. When in reality, what you have to do is shine so your vibration goes high and you attract your tribe. You don't have to go anywhere. You have to attract them so they feel, oh my gosh, I want that energy. I want that vibration. I want to be part of that. So let's bring you there. Let's bring you to that place when you're comfortable in your energy and you feel empowered by everything that happens for you, not to you, for you. There is no coincidence. Things doesn't happen because you're unlucky or somebody do juju on you. Things happen because you have to go through that to be ready for this next chapter of your life that is going to need you to have those tools. So that's why you're going through this right now. And you have to trust the process and believe that what is coming is so magnificent that you have to prepare yourself. And yes, sometimes life will give you the test without giving you any time to learn the lesson. It happened. It had happens to me. And you go like, really? What did WTF? No. But once that happened, and I said it yesterday, Siri, in our call, sometimes you learn the lesson, sometimes you are the lesson.
Yeah, I
Sometimes
love when
you
you said
have
that.
to go through things because it's true. Sometimes I would say, so what's the lesson? And I was the lesson. I was the billboard for somebody else. And by just going through that, I am helping somebody else go through that.
Right.
And in that moment, we don't realize it. But everything has a purpose and a reason. We just got to trust the process and know that we are in this journey because this is our journey. It's meant for us to go through and embrace it. Don't fight it. What you resist persists. So you're going to go through the same lesson 30 times until you get it. Oh, now I get it.
Yep. Don't we all know that one? Yep.
Yeah. But you
Yeah,
have
sometimes
to,
it gets really loud. Like it's like you cannot avoid it if you tried. It's
I
just,
mean,
oh,
I
the
have to break
message is
my
here. It's
foot.
here. It's here. It's here. It's like, okay, I got it. I got the
I have to break
message.
my foot. I had so many signs that I should not be having my retreat in April for whatever reason. And
Yes.
I was like, I'm doing it because I'm doing it and I don't bet it and you don't tell me because I've been coaching for 15 years and not you don't know what you're talking about. And the universe keep on doing things like, dude, no, you're not having it, but okay. And I'm like, no, I know better. And then out of the blue, you know why I went to volunteer? I broke my foot volunteering, which is the most sarcastic and funny thing.
The irony of it, because it was like for shoes, right? For kids'
It was
shoes.
for shoes, for
Yeah.
kids shoes. So, but the thing is this, I was having a conversation with my husband's ex-wife, and she is running for judge. And I said to her, you know, I think it's a good idea. And she called me and she said, hey, why don't you give me some tips? I work in marketing for many, many years. So she goes, give me some tips, whatever. And I said, okay, let me think about it. And I said, you know what? I think that maybe you should go and do some community service, you know, so you're more in touch with people and da 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 da. And I said, you know, I always go to this thing. I'm going to register so we can go together. So I was going to bring her to do this, you know, trying to introduce her to this. And she texts me like 3 days before or something. She goes, I can go because, you know, my campaign manager has me going to do something else. So I could have canceled, right? I could have said, well,
Yeah.
the main reason I'm going is to introduce her and to do this to help her, but I don't really have to do it this month. I can skip the month. But I said to myself, oh, I'll go. I already free my morning. I'll just do it. It's so funny. My husband, I come back home, my husband goes, no good deed goes unpunished. I mean, he's a lawyer, so he always uses the other side of his brain. He's my projector, so he tells me everything that's gonna go wrong, bless his heart. And I said, no, I don't think that way. I think that this was just the universe telling me to slow down.
Yeah.
This is not the right timing to do what I am forcing myself to do. And sometimes you have to surrender, and sometimes you have to see the signs, and you don't see the signs unless you open your eyes and your ears. And I'm like, okay, got it. I got the message. You didn't have to break my foot in 2 places, but thank you.
Oh, that's a tough one. I know it. Well, Claudia, we could keep going, but we should wrap up. So, any last nuggets of wisdom, realizations, anything you want to share with our audience about being an embodied woman?
I would just tell every woman out there, if they are feeling stuck in their current situation, if they're feeling if they're feeling they have lost their spark, or they feel that they have lost their purpose, to look at themselves in the mirror and see, what do you see there? What do you find in those eyes? Is that really fear? What is it? Be honest, because we cannot fix anything unless we acknowledge there is a problem. That's how we move forward. We have to first take the responsibility and say, you know what? Yeah, maybe I'm comparing myself. Maybe I'm burned out. Maybe I have lost hope, whatever it is. Let's find out so you can get out of that place, because happiness is a birthright. We didn't come to this world to suffer. We put ourselves in that situation most of the time, and we are the best evidence catchers. We find evidence in everything when we want to. So if you really, wants to get out of there, you have to start by being honest with yourself. Stop looking for people to blame. Stop looking for circumstances to blame. Just have a conversation with yourself. And while you are in it, tell yourself you love her. Tell yourself you forgive her. Tell yourself it's okay. It's okay. We're going to do better. But acknowledge it. And for me, that is my healing process. And we look at ourselves in the mirror to put our makeup and to do our hair, but do we really look at ourselves in the mirror? Do we really, really lock eyes and go, hey, I know you. I love you. It's okay.
Yes.
That would be my advice.
Gorgeous advice, Claudia. You're amazing. You're so amazing. Thank you for all of those, not just nuggets of wisdom, but like gold mines of wisdom. And you're such a beautiful storyteller. And I really feel like the power of story through you.
Thank you.
Because you're not just sharing like, oh, here's what I think, and here's this, and here's this, and this is what I've learned. When you share those stories that you shared, we feel it. Like we feel the lesson with you. It's great.
I just feel like I watched a whole movie. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, the scene at the car and the put the window down and the little girl climbing on the top of her back to do the laundry. Like, I just
have pictures. I have pictures of my girls climbing one on top of the other one to push the button.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Incredible. Well, where would you like people to find you, or what would you like them to look for?
And my name is my brand. Thank you to my sister, because I had everything with the name of my book, and my sister goes, "You're your brand. You got to change everything." So it's my name, Claudia Noriega-Bernstein. It's my website, Claudia Noriega-Bernstein. My Instagram too. I'm pretty good answering, my Instagram, and somebody wants to know how to have a breakthrough or discovery session with me, and wants to work with me. I do challenges. I do, little afternoons. I have a retreat coming that I have moved for October. So I love sisterhood. I truly believe we can only fly if we embrace each other. And boy, oh boy, when we embrace each other, we can do amazing things. So.
That's right. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Both of you.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Amber and I are going to wrap up. We'll let you go, and then we'll be in touch.
Happy healing to your foot.
Thank you so much. You guys have a
Thank you.
wonderful rest of the week and weekend.
Love you.
Too. Bye.
Bye.
Woo, what a journey. My goodness. I don't think I've ever cried that much during an episode.
Yeah. Yeah. There was-
Yes. Deep
There's a lot.
truths. She's not a surface person.
No, no, no.
She's
But
like,
it's been, I think too, I just, you know, sometimes when people share their stories and they're already like in this place of, it's all good now. Like, I think it's important. I think I'm speaking from myself. When I see somebody who has worked through really challenging stuff and they're telling the story of their divorce, or they're telling the story of like the really heartbreaking time in their life.
mhm.
Her daughter was 11 months and she's 31 now. So, you know, just wanting to give it context for people listening that, you know, the process takes what it takes.
Yeah,
Right?
it's a
It takes-
journey.
it's quite a journey. But her attitude all along the way was what helped her move through all of it. So that was kind of like my takeaway, you know.
Yes, I'm very inspired by her attitude and by her ability to put her children first, and just the kind of mother that she was and continued to decide to be and is now. Is
Mhm.
that journey of motherhood is really moving and really inspiring, and the kind of love that and devotion that a mother has is, it's insane, that the power of that. It's just
Yes.
phenomenal. It's phenomenal, that kind of love. It's the most powerful thing in the world.
Yeah. I mean, even now I'm 49 years old and I'm having some hard days. And I was on the phone with my mom yesterday and she's, you know, going to be 75. And there's just something about the comfort, if you're lucky. Maybe not
Yeah.
everybody has it. But I hung up the phone with her and I just felt so loved by her and my dad, you know, just so loved. And I look at my kids and you know, they are what give me strength when I'm having my own hard time. I look at them and they give me strength because I want them to feel the level of safety and love and care, and security, you know, that every child deserves to feel, no matter what their parent is going through. And not that we, you know, not that we bypass or don't, or pretend that we're not human. We are, and we feel. But yeah, they give me strength to show up when, quite frankly, if they weren't around, I would probably go lay in my bed and put the covers over my head and say, okay, I'll be out in 10 days when this passes or whatever. But like, I got to show up. And, you know, my son had a mother-son event last night at Sky Zone. And I'll tell you, did not feel like going, but it was so good. I showed up because that's what we do. We show up for our kids, and it was wonderful. And he had a great time. And I, you know, I ended up going to bed last night, like laying my head down on the pillow, feeling really proud of how I'm able to show up, whether I'm feeling fabulous or not for them, you know?
Yeah, I think that kind of showing up starts when we get pregnant. And for a lot of women, it's the first time that we actually feel permission to prioritize ourselves in a way that we never have.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I'm allowed to like treasure my body and treasure myself and feed myself well and take a rest if I need to take a rest. Not every woman, but I think a lot of women, I've heard in my experience as well, it's like, it's the first time it's like, oh, I can do what I need to do, or I'm important, you know, or I can let myself be taken care of. Like, I feel like that starts when we become a mother, is that kind of feeling of I'm here for something. I'm here for something
Yes.
big, right?
Yes. That I remember like being born in me. And I wrote about that in my book, but like that morning after I had my daughter, she had to go to the nursery because she was jaundiced and she was having some trouble, and so the nurses said to me, like, you can just you can stay in the hospital room, like get some sleep, we'll get up with her throughout the night. And I was like,
Hell no.
I'm her mom. And that sense of purpose and pride. And I remember like walking down the hospital corridor, like holding my gown closed in the back, having pumped what little tiny milk I could, at that point. And just, I remember the words just kept repeating, I'm a mom, like there's just something that taps you into a superhuman, supernatural state of being that I didn't have access to before that.
Yeah, that's right. And even the birthing process, I feel like, is a part of that. But that's
sure.
that's a different episode.
It is. But yes, but that's what I believe that Claudia shared with us, was her ability to tap into that superhuman, supernatural strength.
Yes.
In the midst of her own pain.
Yes.
Is what allowed her to, has allowed her to become who she is today and have the beautiful relationship she has with her daughters and that she had with her ex-husband.
Yeah, because she had every reason to just be a victim and just fall apart or just be taken care of.
Right.
And just go like, all right, I'll just let him keep taking care of me and the kids. And
right. She
had
made
every
choice.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah. The self-love choice is not always the easiest choice.
That's true.
It doesn't feel like the easiest choice. Like I know that well.
Well, thank you all for going on this journey with us. What a beautiful journey it was. I hope that you received so much out of it the way we did. And we are so excited for all of the upcoming guests that we have. So please continue to be on this journey with us because there's a lot more to come. We have our Embodied Woman Sisterhood every Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific, which is absolutely phenomenal, the experience of that. Amber, do you have anything you want to share before we wrap up here?
About the Embodied Woman Sisterhood?
Or anything else?
Well, I think what continues to surprise me in the best way is by me showing up thinking I'm the one being of service to someone else, I'm the one that's really receiving the gift. So
we don't heal in a vacuum. Yeah, no coincidence the people that show up in the groups that they show up in, that we're all here to heal each other and guide each other home.
I had a mom come up to me today just to kind of come back to motherhood. And, last Friday after I taught my dance class, my empowered dance class, and there were 3 moms who brought their daughters because they had the day off of school. And so one of the moms came to me today, and her daughter's 7 years old, and her mom is a regular. She comes every week, but she said, I have to tell you, my daughter could not stop talking about how much she loved that class. And she said, I saw something change in her. I saw her open up in a way that I hadn't seen before. And she went home and she told her dad about it. And she even asked me, can I go with you again today? And her mom said, oh, sweetheart, you have school today. She's like, well, can I skip school and go, And I was not feeling my best this morning. And so it just touched me. Sometimes I think to hear that, like how showing up, continuing to show up, it does make an impact. And that's what we continue to hear with our Embodied Woman Sisterhood as well, from the women that, we continue to show up to be of service, and the impact is big, and we're hearing about it, and it feels really good.
We are. It's really incredible. And it's incredible to watch the women that are showing up for themselves in the Embodied Woman Sisterhood and on the podcast, to watch their journey and to watch their human struggle, but to also watch them come back to their wisdom and to see them get those wins and to see them feel held and heard when they're having a struggle. Okay, last thing I want to say is really quick. Amber and I are going to be doing an embodied woman, this is dying.
In person.
Thank you. An embodied woman experience, the embodied woman experience in person in LA, March 22nd.
Nope, May 22nd.
May 22nd.
I'm not ready for March.
I do that all the time. That's so crazy. May 22nd. Thank you, Amber.
I
May
will be getting ready to fly to see you on
That's
the 22nd.
right. That's right. So May 22nd, Wednesday, May 22nd, 10 to 12, Los Angeles, the Embodied Woman Experience. We're going to be doing a couple hours of sharing and coaching and dancing and breath work and Reiki, all of it that we do in the sisterhood. We're going to do it live. So get in touch, Siri@sageandblushwellness.com, and you can sign up. And we can't wait to see you. It's $44. And we're very excited about that, to get to see you guys in person.
It's going to
All
be
right.
magical. Yes.
Bye.